Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Small Axe Big Tree reading series. This poetry reading was created in celebration of Caribbean American Heritage Month with the intention of keeping the voices, artistry, and culture of Caribbean people alive and at the forefront of conversation, recognition, and total celebration. Tonight's event is the second event in the Resistances and Reclamation series. If you've missed last week's event, you can watch the Poems of Possibility workshop on my YouTube channel. For those who do not know me, I am Carmin Wong. I am a proud Guyanese-born poet, playwright, and scholar, and also the host of tonight's reading. This reading is sponsored in part by Poets&Writers as part of the project grants in New Orleans. Tonight, I am joined by four incredible poets and writers who each share their own personal connections to these Caribbean lands. It's an honor to have them join us and to listen to their stories. It is my hope that we walk away from our screens tonight with a sort of comfort in these trying times as we remember our history and who we are in this world. When I thought about putting together this event, I had imagined a room full of writers whose voices would command front and center stage, whose voices would propel us off of our seats and into a world of creative unity. I have no doubt that the poets coming before you tonight will leave you with a part of themselves. With that said, I want to embrace the camaraderie and love in this space. So before I call our first reader, I think it's only fitting that I start with a poem that I wrote recently after my departed grandmother, who spent her whole life in Guyana. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about how differently my life would have been if I did not move to the US at the age of 4, and how much I wish I knew about myself and how much I can learn from her. So I want to start us off with a poem that I wrote during quarantine. It's entitled Autobiography for the Bodies That Won't Leave. I was born there, in a city of gold panned near the watershed of the Northwest River. I was born there, on a cloudless spring day, a spell of warm weather, and my ma's breast was the first and earliest feast. Though these days rise differently. Uncertainty squanders the inside of me, this body, a nomenclature of a place once belonged to a home forgotten, not for good, but for the day it becomes for certain. I was born there, where every daughter knew of dust and sandstone, this struggle the same as the structure of sinking. I am still a mouth-wide fool for love. That is more than I let on, more than I have seen in those ceremonious matrimonies. I think the world of daughters, myself a one idyllic cousin of the moon, and the same of rebellious women who want the sanctuary of other women to grapple with what is whole. That there's no telling the difference between cold feet and wet women, and so I was created by living laughter into a belly of whistling rhymes and improper wine. So I think there is hope. We're in a world where tears can admire a body so beautifully. I was born with this face, all my own, but half my ma's, a self-portrait of longing, of return. My ma, a canvas of what little and too much I know of me, and still, she is as beautiful as. I wish there were words to tell how I bloomed from women that be, how my grandmothers were bought to a land made from foreign things, unfree. She and them, the servants who too did dream. Her body has known a life that precedes me, and yet I feel it in the frailness of my own bones. How soft it feels to rest in between the now and our short-lived memories. This body, a cocoon for rustic dreams and breaking free. I think there is a place for birthing the broken and the beautiful, and babies who grow into beings that outlive and tire and sing of the ones who held them first. My grandmother, the too early departed, the working and the feeble. This is a body of memories, of places, of my people, of my people's people I call my own. I was born from shared blood, a holy trail. This body a celestial thing. I know this feeling is not mine alone, but of my ma, an antecedent land, our arrival, the newness of spring, our harvest. Thank you guys for listening to that. I thought I'd be the little sacrificial lamb, if there's no other better words to put it, because I think that the poets that are joining us on this screen are going to knock your socks off. I know that when I've listened to their words or when I've spoken to them, I felt their spirit. And so I have no doubt that the readers that are coming to our screens tonight are going to share nothing but love, nothing but themselves. And I thank them so much in advance for that. And so with that said, coming to the stage first is a good friend of mine. We've only met in my time here in New Orleans, but since our first conversation, I think I was working at the New Orleans Words and Music Festival, volunteering or being a reader of some sort. And one of our first conversations was about being Caribbean and navigating this world, wanting to find more Caribbean people right here in this region of New Orleans. And so first, I want to call Annell Lòpez to the stage. She is a Dominican immigrant, a Tin House Scholarship finalist. Her work has appeared or is forthcoming in Michigan Quarterly Review, American Short Fiction, Hobart, New Orleans Review, and elsewhere. Annell is an assistant fiction editor for New Orleans Review. She is working on a collection of short stories, and you can follow her at Annell the Book Babe on Instagram and at Annell Lòpez 2 on Twitter. Thank you so much, Annell. The stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Carmen, and thank you for putting this together. I'm going to read to you guys a series of poems about a town or a city in the DR. This place is called Boca Chica, and so which loosely will translate to small mouth, which I think is interesting in a way. But either way, I'll read to you the poems about this town. Boca Chica. Boca Chica squirts like a wounded artery into the cavernous mouths of men. They take and take and take and take until they bleed the town dry. The girls from Boca Chica. The girls from Boca Chica have big mouths, wide grins and full lips, painted glossy red. The girls from Boca Chica have names with syllables from across continents. The girls have soft breasts and big hips they sway when they see foreign men. And they wait tables at restaurants near the shore. They clean hotel rooms and mop floors and shuffle cards at the Casino Española. The girls from Boca Chica have learned to walk in heels, on cobbled streets, on gravel, on sand, uphill and downhill, on the side of any road. And the girls are always, always old enough to take shots of rum, to smoke cigars, to pose for a picture, to dance well into the night, to make love to you and also your wife. This next piece is called A Girl from Boca Chica Never Forgets to Smile. As you swirl the slotted spoon inside the vat of oil and scoop up the fattest grouper, fried whole, eyes and all, as you turn to plate the tostones, resting on brown paper towels and sprinkle them heavy with salt, as you watch the tourist grimace and hold the fish by its tail, only to set it back on the plate and leave it behind, as you take back the plate and hide behind a palm tree and pick morsels of meat from the fish's rib cage until there is nothing left but a perfect skeleton. And a girl from Boca Chica must remember. In the mornings, slather honey and sugar on your face. Rub in circles to remove traces from the night before. While you wait in Boca Chica, stop counting your father's absence in days. Instead, look at how the jeans that he brought you from Nueva York now get stuck at the hips. How your big toe rubs against the seams of those canvas shoes you used to love. And how the pink top that once covered the belt loops of your high-rise Levi's right up above your navel. Father says, count your blessings when you see the tall and skinny dark copper, brown girls of your town, shimmering from sweat, balancing baskets and buckets on their heads, working girls who don't go to school, girls who birth girls who birth girls who birth girls. And the last piece I have for you is titled Offerings. We keep candles, incarnations, a humble shrine for Oshun, Yemaya, Shango, and all the Santos. We kill a chicken, wring its neck, cut off its head, and drain the blood. We cook and eat the flesh, slurping its juice and licking grease from our nails to our knuckles. We burn Palo Santo and wear long white skirts cinched at the waist. Our sleeves, like wings, sway as we waltz, pleading, keep them safe, keep them safe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Annell. That was wonderful. And thank you for schooling us. Okay, I hope y'all are tuned in right now. Bringing to the stage is Thiahera Nurse. Okay, she is. I introduced her backstage as the homie from Queens, but for real, you know, it's so good to meet other artists, other people, other poets that are from the same area as you. And I think that your poetry is just amazing. I've had, you know, multiple chances to listen to you virtually. So I think that this right here is a testament of how poetry brings people together, because we are from the same town in Queens, yes, but we actually met through poetry readings. So thank you so much. Oh my gosh, for those who do not know her, Thiahera Nurse is a poet from Hollis, Queens. Her people come from Trinidad and Tobago. She teaches English in Queens. Her poems can be found in her book, Some Girls Survive on Their Sorcery Alone. She writes for the Black girls. Thank you, Thiahera.
Thank you, Carmin, and also amazing voice, Carmin. I feel like you're bringing so much peace to my very crazy day. Thank you, everyone who's here. Happy Wednesday. This is such an awesome space to be a part of right now. Okay, so I have two poems. One of these poems is about my grandma, Juanita, who passed away in 2015. And so I'd like to share. This poem is called Granny Juanita is Dead. I come to her funeral wearing a white dress and an overnight diaper. I bleed through the pew anyway. A line, the color of rust aches down the seam of my stockings, the color of gauze. Gauze clogs the wound that is my vagina. My mother is worried about how long this period is running through me, running me straight to the ground where my granny say now. The doctors gut the child out of me like a school of flying fish. Been bleeding ever since, like I don't have any home training. I lie to my mother in the house of the Lord. She wonders about the clots, round as the small knobs on my grandmother's front door. My feet swollen to the size of my father's great fists, my grandmother's mouth in a golden coffin, stained glass window crimson. Her perfect face gleaming out from the casket like a coin. God can flip any hex into a hymn, into a prayer I can sing into myself into the hour of my death. I hold my rosary beads close to my chest. I must be cursed, miscarrying as they bend my granny's body through the flame. God reminding me of the hell from which I came. Her ashes folded into the earth and the Caribbean Sea. I breathe in the ocean, and she clears my birth canal into a sacred grave, poinsettias blooming from the former cave. I mean to say that this poem is about my granny Juanita and me, the Hail Marys we sang, though we were not saved. Two dead girls wearing lipstick, the color of rubies, on the day God called us home. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and rest in peace to my granny Juanita. All right. One last poem. I was talking to my partner last summer, and he saw a sign that said West Indian Lives for Black Lives. And so he asked me, why do we have to make that distinction? Like West Indians, Caribbean people were Black people, so that must mean that we're for Black lives. And so I just want to just, as always, just say that Caribbean people, Black Caribbean people, we are in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States and everywhere. So, if you have Caribbean people in your life who, might not be as alert or aware or wanting to learn more about how this movement directly impacts us, please talk to them and please have those conversations. This is called Some Girls Survive on Their Sorcery Alone. I got a stink ass attitude because you tried to kill me. Still, I am the baddest bitch in here. Diamond Yoni. Carbon-based funk and it's everywhere. Video vixen bad. Thick with the stuff my mama gave me, her mama gave her. It's cyclical, this survival. My gap tooth gate bending the corner, bow-legged Athena. If this story needed a white goddess to exist, let me compare myself to my Black ass self. A stillborn summer, roadkill, every deer gnawed through, peepholes where my breast should be. How easy it is to eat through the faces of Black girls with your weapons, a flesh that don't crack, and yet here I am, my bottom lip split down the middle. You save the fat you want for yourselves, your daughters. Pickle my mouth that they keep in a jar on the nightstand. What did slavery do to y'all to make you treat me this way? I almost wonder, and then I am distracted by my own brilliance. Pink lotion slides down the side of my neck. I'm sweating, running hard, fast, and away from elegy. If I die in this jail cell, no, I did not kill myself. If I die in this jail cell, no, I did not kill myself. If I die in this jail cell, no, I did not kill myself. For Sandra Bland, Ayanna Monet Stanley Jones, Renisha McBride, Reese Walker, Tarika Wilson, Katherine Johnston, Sharice Francis, Corinne Gaines, Breonna Taylor and them, the understood, implicit, etc. of this list. I am trying to mend the impossible wound and I seal it in cocoa butter. I'm blasting Little Kim in the rain. So much coconut oil on me, the bullets miss. I'm slick as fuck. You mad? You can still smell me breathing from here? Thank you.
Oh my goodness, the whole time I was backstage like, what? Oh my goodness, talk about speaking affirmations, okay? I think that's so important. Also, the message that you put out there, I think that's important, right? When we talk about the diaspora, when we talk about our people, where we come from, a lot of the times, we don't have those conversations. And so I think it's important that we make sure that when we're talking about our identities and the ways that it informs our artistry, our culture, and who we are and how we are present in this world, that we let people know it's okay for you to ask us these questions, for you to acknowledge us for who we are, right? So thank you so much, Thiahera, for that. Also, yes, rest in peace to our grandmothers, both, I just did a piece for my grandmother. So I completely feel that. And I want to make space for that, to call on the names of your loved ones, for those you knew personally or those you just, had a connection with in your heart, So thank you for that. Coming to the stage next, is another great friend of mine, Christopher Romaguera. Oh my goodness, talented writer, all around, great person. Just know him, people, okay? And remember his name, okay? Oh my goodness, Christopher Luis Romaguera is a Cuban American writer who lives in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was born in Hyla, Florida. Please correct me. I'm probably saying that wrong. And graduated from Florida International University in Miami, Florida. Romaguera has been published in the Daily Beast, Podunk Review, Curb National, Curb National, New Orleans Review, Pank Magazine, Santa Fe Writers Project, and other publications. The list goes on, people. He is a monthly columnist at the Plowshares blog. Romaguera is a Vona alum. He is an MFA. He has his MFA in creative writing at the University of New Orleans. And you can find him on Facebook at Christopher Lewis Romaguera or on Instagram and Twitter at C. Romaguera Writes. I got that right. Please tell us everything else. Please correct me. Let us know how we could find you. Tell them how to spell your name. Make sure you plug yourself in. Okay, Chris, I'm leaving the stage to you.
Thank you so much, Carmen. No, you nailed all of it. And I appreciate all the writers who came before me or are following me for really gracing the stage and the virtual stage and setting the bar so high. I'm going to try to keep up with this, so I'm just going to go straight to reading. This first poem I wrote the night before my first time ever being in Cuba, which is where both sides of my family hailed from. Pops runs through the sugarcane fields, his father behind him. Before dad stops, y abuelo does too. Abuelo machetes a stick of sugarcane. Your father sucks the sweetness straight from the source, the sweetest thing he ever tasted. He thinks anything chopped down will taste that sweet. Your father talks about the mystical waters, how every night the sea foams and crashes against El Malagon, the sea reaching out to grab him. Cuba tucked itself inside the conch shell of the earth. Tomorrow, you're going into the dream. Will the people hate me? Will the soil beneath my feet quake and create the end of days? Will I eat the papaya that changes my life? Will my father cry? Santo Domingo, in a hostel, partner in a separate bed on the other side of the room. You want to hold her in the too crowded space where you feel nothing but alone. You've turned off the personal fan to sweat the worry away, to dehydrate your conscience away, to force you to rest. And you wake up 2 hours before your alarm, watching the sun bring to life all the color of the Dominican Republic as drunk Australians try to pick up young French girls who wait for their Belgian boyfriends who eye the island natives as they go to buy cigarettes. And you know the next time the sun sets, it will dip into different waters and you will be in Cuba. And you hope your heart doesn't sink into the blood it pumps, plummeting deep into the sea, lost next to so many of Cuba's treasures. Thank you. This next piece I'm gonna share is more of a flash. I wrote it after hearing about Jose Fernandez, who is a Cuban baseball player who was exiled from Cuba and played for the Miami Marlins before his untimely death. And yeah, I'll let the piece do the rest of the talking. Staring at the water you broke. She is going to die unless you wake up. You are on a raft. You and your mother. You and your padrino. You and other dreamers like you. You sleep hoping to wake up to another dream. You would fall asleep in the night, constellations poking little white holes of dead light into the sky. You had hoped the day pulled the dark curtain of the night only to reveal your new home, but day comes with no home. So you cook in the sun. The crash of breaking water shakes the raft, shakes you, but you still dream of hearing your mother's voice curve around the walls of a house, of clinking glasses of rum as salutes fill the air, of connecting your locket split family, of repairing your heartbroken mother's heart, of making your own personal La Habana. You feel the tension. You dream of a home. You wake up to the echo of water breaking. You feel the tension, others already awake. You unkaleidoscope the image. 7 silhouettes where there used to be 8. 7 startled dreamers woke up to the nightmare. Se fue. She sinks toward the sea floor. Like the Jesus statue that scuba divers swim around, circling their saviors like vultures. But unlike the rest, you do not stick in the sun. Before you could even hear the echo of your fallen mother's call, you break the water too. You swim down to her. You keep pushing yourself to her as she sinks below you, beneath you. So you keep pushing as if the world sinks her before you on purpose to ruin you. And you keep pushing as if Oshun and all the other Orisas placed a gentle hand on your back and moved you forward, faster, to be able to catch her. And the waters get darker as if the spirits cast all their spells and shadows over you. Your head gets heavy, pressure increasing, tightening the vice. Your heart keeps pumping. Your mother raised you to be all heart. It pumps because it is all that it knows how to do. You feel yourself moving slower as the salt piles on you. Each grain ticks off time. Each ounce drowns and dehydrates you. You keep pushing as your bubbles float higher and higher to the world of dreamers that you can no longer see. Bubbles that burst against the plane farther and farther away. You keep pushing, trying to get to the beautiful soul that sinks, to scoop her up and save her, like as a child when you'd break the water to show your eroding mother the beautiful shell you've uncovered from beneath the sea. And you reach her. You follow the air bubbles up, each one carrying an almost lost memory, an almost lost dream. Little by little, the balsero silhouettes return to your eyes. You then break the water again. Jose, you saved her. I play these moments over and over again, like ESPN highlights of your strikeouts. I play these moments over and over again as I stare into the night, sitting in an empty lifeguard station at the beach, thinking of you dancing on the mound like a shaman. I cry thinking of the politicians and the comfortable, clutching their pearls at the blood they watched you spill on your way to the bottom of the ocean. They circling the fallen memory of you like sharks do the wounded. I cry in rage thinking about your statue denied over the cocaine in your blood as we all live in a city that was built on the very cocaine and our people's labor. I cry thinking of your death when it was your turn to fall years later after you had lived your dream. I cry thinking that none of us saved you when it was your turn to fall, how none of us could break the water for you, none of us being able to find the beauty against the erosion like you did. I cry looking at all the lights from the buoys that shine on the water where you crashed on the rocks, a constellation in the sea, letting us know where our hero fell. I cry telling this story, knowing that you live a bit longer as long as we keep telling your story, pointing out your star. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris. I have to plug this in here. If you enjoyed listening to Chris, you can also find him on episode 3 and episode 6 of the first season of my literary podcast at What You Read in this series. Episode 6 specifically features Caribbean people who are speaking in their own native languages and sharing stories, poetry, and different arts via audio for us to tune into and listen to. And I think that's so important because this work, this collaboration that we see going on tonight is not something that happened overnight. It is a vision of unity that I've held in my heart for quite some time. And I thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your words with us and for always participating. Thank you so much for that. Coming to the stage next, oh my goodness, is Dr. Shauna Morgan. Okay, I can say so much about this woman. She has been, I always say she's a huge matriarch in my life. I'm not sure if she even knows the essential role and how much I look up to her. But when I thought about doing a poetry reading, I was thinking about who would feature and I said, who else? You know, she has always been an idol. Her words have taught me. They have scolded me and they have allowed me to see visions beyond what I've even thought was possible. Because of her, I've continued on with my schooling. I have, done so much in my life. And if I can just give her a big hug right now, I really would. So thank you so much, Dr. Morgan, for gracing us with your presence. And without further ado, I'm going to sit and I'm going to read her bio and then let her do all the rest, okay? The author of Fear of Dogs and Other Animals, Central Square Press. Dr. Shauna Morgan is a poet, scholar, and associate professor of creative writing and Africana literature at Howard University. Both her scholarly work and her poetry are deeply engaged with global Black art and culture. Her critical work has been published in Journal of Postcolonial Writing, South Atlantic Review, Bulletin of the School of Oriental and African Studies, College Language Association Journal, and elsewhere. Her poetry has appeared in A Gathering Together, Interviewing the Caribbean, A Literary Field Guide to Southern Appalachia, among other periodicals and anthologies. Dr. Morgan tends to a hopeful garden at her home at the Arts Village in the historic East End of Lexington, Kentucky.
Thank you so much, Carmen, for having me. I am so full right now. First, I just have to say I'm so full of admiration, Carmen. You've always stood out as just such an incredible human being, such an amazing woman, and I thank you for inviting me to participate in what has been such a moving reading. And I feel like we could just shut it down now. I'm just so full, from your opening poem, this, a canvas and antecedent land. I just can't stop thinking about that and just how all of these poets connect, from the women of Boca Chica, right, to that sacred grave and the poinsettias. That image is just so powerful, Thiahera, and to Chris's water, right, and that dreaming of a home. All of it has resonated with me, and I just thank you all, Annell, Thiahera, Chris, for all of that. So I'm gonna read, I guess, as the spirit moves me, some new work. And I think from the place where we are right now, I'll start with a new poem that really sort of calls upon this legacy and lineage of women and motherhood. So much of when I think about being a Caribbean person in the United States of America, I always think of distance and memory and loss and longing. But this idea of resistances and remembrances is, so much a part of, our lived experience as well, right? And we know that so many Caribbean American folks changed the landscape of this country, right? From Stokely Carmichael, right, to Audre Lorde and June Jordan, right, Claude McKay from my own parish, Marcus Garvey, right, the list goes on. And so I just, I'm really interested in women and our experiences in changing the landscape. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and read. This poem is called Molasses. Them tell me said the birthing did hard. Life torn from my mother, who squatted in the dirt back against the trunk of a soursop tree, the one she often stole away to, drawing circles in the soft ground, calling up root weevils when her fingers were a plaid of sugar-caned skin and blood. There they found me, mounted on her left breast, suckling death, covered in sex and a vernix of ghosts, her hands holding my back, navel string still itch on, tie up in our. My mother never knew what a rainbow mean. She was buried along with my most beautiful scars, the afterbirth always beckoning me home to witness the memories of old folk, their songs and stories marking my flesh, echoing something my bones find familiar. a chord that reverberates through my hips and thighs. She come down fast like fire in a key and peace, they say. Always turmoil in what they tell, and I cannot be sure if they're speaking of my birth or what my mother endured growing me between rows of cane, light brown child pressing against her molasses, a bitter confection made with indelicate hands. I always think of my mother too. My parents emigrated separately, and so we were in Jamaica with my mother for a while before she joined my father. And I remember, in the absence of my father, seeing my mother with this new lens. So this next poem is for her, Hopes and Promises. When I was 7 years old, I saw my mama flat down on the bed, hands full on her face and trembling, and I ran behind my father, small leather grip in his hands, full of American hopes and promises, thrown into the trunk of a Lada and then gone down the Marl Road. One day, I ran through the gate after school, and there she was, even more beautiful than the day before, standing near the clothesline, his unworn shirts flapping hellos, waving hopes and promises on the breeze in case he would return soon, like he did one night secretly, tapping on the aluminum louvers, frightening everyone but me, because every day I had expected him to. And I was happy to tell him that now she was the farmer, did all the things he could do, that we had 17 cows and one calf that had not died in birth, that we had lime trees and grapes and cherries and star apple and June plums more than ever before. So one of the things that I find so interesting, a part of this Caribbean American experience, an immigrant experience. Often I've heard so many stories of people, going abroad, leaving their children to live with relatives. And I thought that I was unique in that experience until I met friends from Haiti and, Dominican Republic and everywhere who had similar experiences. And so this poem, Sugar Babies, is sort of an homage to that. Sugar babies. I was made to love food by my uncle, whose rum tongue tasted nothing unless it was seasoned with Scotch bonnet pepper. He lashed me with his stinging tongue. His belt bled my brother's backs, kept my sister across his knees. Rice porridge for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No condensed milk today, lest our mouths become too sweet. Sometimes my aunt would bake a cake, pretty pink and white icing. We would see it there, wish our birthdays to come, imagine our parents returning with arms full of American treats. So I realize, I feel a great sense of camaraderie with children, right? Those of us who were left behind and then brought into this American space. And I think that one of the things, it was so difficult to understand as a child, but once you get here, right, and you see the sacrifice your parents make, it becomes something that really shaped me. And as I came into adulthood, right, I started to really appreciate the gravity of that kind of sacrifice. And so this next poem is for my father, and for the sacrifices that he made, but also the way that, those people who shape us linger in some of the most interesting places, whether that is in a plate of food, right, or in a smell of something. Sawdust. The lumber stretches long and hard, pocked like your legs, a home for sores round and brown, a center crust of yellow, a community of imperfections. I inhale. It is your smell without you, without your sweat and the metallic odor on top of wood, without flecks of sawdust in your silver at night hair. I inhale you, a sanitized, pre-treated, uncut, unbolted, unhinged you, your smell in the morning, 6 o'clock punch, sawdust shavings under your feet, Coleman in your hand, ice cold bickle in a this land for me, triangle trusses on your back for me, a chip off the old block, or rather curled and curled shavings, delicate but unfeminine. You are just like your father. Heavy feet, bones marching, steel toes hammering the ground, and your smell, no longer mahogany, pine, cypress. We went to buy plywood but got birch instead. The storm would have taken our roof and left the windows intact. We would have blown out like these shavings, golden fibers in a whirling cyclone, inhaled and lodged in the lungs. I inhale you. So I bought my granny's enamel cup just for the moment. So one of the things, one of the things that keeps me anchored through my work is an engagement with the landscape of my childhood, of my memory. I was so moved by Annell's poems and thinking about women and the landscape and how both are often sexualized. So I think I'm gonna switch it up a little bit and read this next poem called Paper Boats. If you've ever been to Jamaica, there's this place called the Gorge, and there's some, you drive along this windy, narrow little road along the river, and there are these beautiful rock formations. In any case, paper boats. The sparkle of the bathers' bodies disappears behind the rainbow of wooden shops. The yellow one leaning near the river belongs to a woman who sells fried festival and fish. She glances at the little racing boats, chased by the little boys who made them. They go quickly, bumping into round stones until they reach the crowd of people taking pictures of Pum Rock. Some men cross the river and slip between the labia of the stone wall. They laugh, and the little boats pass and go faster where the river bends. The boys rush to throw stones and try to sink each other's boats. The woman turns her festivals over and over as she watches the men and the little boys with the little paper boats. So again, I'm really just sort of drawn to the landscape. And one of the things I grew up, as you might have heard, on a farm with farming parents. But when I came to the US, my parents immigrated to South Florida, and we had, excuse me, just a little plot of land that was just grass and very small, nowhere where you could really cultivate anything. But my father planted sugarcane on the side of the house, a townhouse. The homeowners association made him cut it down. But I recently, just a few years ago, started trying to grow things. And it really connected me to my land back home, to all of the people in my family, women especially, who work the land. And, I always say that my umbilical cord is buried under an acerola cherry tree in Gravel Hill, Clarendon. And I feel this just deep connection. So I'm going to read a poem that deals with sort of trying to keep that. Growing and weeding. I've always lived in the midst of things that grew faster than I. My mother's white roses, our coulis plum tree, my cousin Charmaine, whose breasts appeared overnight and sent me to the bathroom, pressing my arms against my chest. I tried to grow things too. A young chicken fallen from the Caribbean broiler's truck, my sister's cherry tree. Thyme in the Virginia winter, A jade plant from the Baxter brothers who were not brothers at all. A white dendrobium that flowered once. When I wondered why things tended to die, he said it was me, that I killed everything green, especially money. But today I remembered how we grew things, how I cared for African violets, never letting water touch the velvet leaves, how the purple flowers would burst and burst. I birthed children, 2 at once, and grew them in a garden of heirloom tomatoes and yellow gladioli. Today I will plant raspberry bushes for summer, and soon dahlias, giant sunflowers, and moonshine yarrow for the vase in our kitchen. The children and I will harvest black krim and zucchini, pick gungo peas, and cut ripe honeydew from our new vines, weeding as we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up with, I'll close with 2 poems. If I can find them here. Thank you all so much. Just really glad to be here, and so grateful to have this opportunity to share with you all and hear all of this amazing and wonderful work. All right, I'm looking for this poem. It's in the wrong place. Sort of jumping between my my chapbook, Fear of Dogs, and my newest collection, How to Make Her. All right. So this poem, Omi Odura, is what I call the water prayer. All right. Thank you so much. We're standing at the shore. It could be Adelaide, first free village, Salvador or Varadero, Ferry Hill, or anywhere the Caribbean reaches for the sorrowful Atlantic. Our faces turn up to receive the sharp caress of the wind. We fill our nostrils with salted air and walk into waves breaking gently at our ankles. Hand in hand and slowly swaying our bodies into the uprising of the sea, we step over sea stars and urchin, follow the path of conch and spirit, life force of our ancestors. She pulls us, swirls around as we sink ourselves down to our necks, water across our shoulders, washing us and lapping up to kiss our lips. We submerge, wash our torn selves clean and new, cry out to all our mothers, to Yemanja, we are her children too, like fish feeding all directions. Thank you all so much. Just such a joy to be here with y'all.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Morgan. We're all backstage just like, oh, oh my goodness. When you pulled the mug out, I was like, we're related, you know? Thank you so much for that. I want to ask everyone to come back to the stage. And, you know, I just want to thank you all. Thank you everyone for tuning in, but thank you poets, especially for sharing the gift of your words, of your voice. You know, I'm so happy that you introduced your poetry in the way that you did, Dr. Morgan, because, you know, there is connectively a thread in all that we've listened to today. And not just in sharing our personal stories and the ways that, you know, we remember our loved ones, but also in our fight to be here, right? And this idea of belongingness and return and the back and forth. So thank you so much for sharing with your words. And the reason why I especially wanted to create this event, create more events like these, is because these are the feelings that I've been grappling with my life, my entire life, right? That appears in my writing. And, you know, there's no secret, right, to it, that the reason that we tend to pull on these things is because of our shared cultural identities, our ancestries, you know, and so it's important that we be able to talk about that there are spaces that uplift those voices, and that we know that we are presently in the world, right? And so I want to thank you guys so much for all the joy that you brought to my evening. Thank you. if there's anyone that likes to, say a few words, or if you have, any work that's coming out, or if anyone has any events, or you just want anything to leave us with, feel free to do so.
I just want to thank y'all for having me, and I want to thank everyone who came in and listened. But I really appreciate this. I got more than I got a lot from this. I really appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Carmin, for putting this together, and to all of you guys for reading your amazing work. I feel nostalgic, but also very inspired, and kind of like, itching to get a pen and paper. Yeah.
Same. I feel like I have like 3 new favorite writers now. For those who are out there and for us in here too, I just hope that we can see each other in real life one day soon.
Ashe, yes to that for sure. Thank y'all so much. This has been amazing. Thank you, Carmin, for bringing us together. I look forward to seeing y'all, sharing a physical stage with y'all.
Thank you. There's really nothing left to be said, except if you absolutely love what you've heard tonight, as I did, then please tune in to our next event. It will happen next Wednesday virtually. It's entitled Embodied Ethnography, Identity, and Resistance, a discussion in celebration of Caribbean American Heritage Month. You will not want to miss this. Thank you so much, you guys. And you guys, if you are just curious about all of our list of events, you can go ahead and visit the Poets and Writers calendar and their website as well, where everything is listed, all 3 events, and you'll find all the info for where you can find this, and share this link with your friends as well. Thank you.